Krause, and I'm a sales engineer and XDR champion for Central and Eastern Europe region. We have such a position that is a dedicated engineer to handle XDR things. This is material mostly from our webinar we did lastly for customers in whole Europe, but I've added some additional information, especially for partners. So then maybe we will look at the console after the presentation. The XDR. The idea of the XDR is mostly connected with the problems that are now in the systems used by security departments, security operating centers in the company, and mostly related to the time of detection, because when we have a malware detection, is quite simple. We have an anti-malware software and we got a detection and everything is blocked. However, if it is a little bit more complicated, like it is a kind of a targeted attack or the malware is unknown, then it takes more time. So there is an idea how to get the best things from the systems and connect everything together. Why? Because now mostly the systems are not connected together. So we have the endpoint systems, sometimes with the endpoint detection and response, and the guys from the security department gather logs and detections from this system. And there are other systems like separated departments or separated locations, or we have servers, sometimes in the cloud, or we have email systems. Because of COVID, we see extensive migration to the cloud. Like now we are on the Teams. In Poland, even though the biggest Polish bank that banks are very reluctant to go to the cloud. These guys deploy the Teams, so purely cloud technology. We have emails in the cloud using Microsoft 365 that is more and more popular. So we have additional technology here in cloud. Then the logs from this system, from the endpoint, from the branch offices, from cloud, from network, whatever, these logs go to the kind of CM or SOAR platform. And then there is a huge problem with the correlation. Probably you're involved in selling CMs. It used to be when I worked for a distributor, we were offering CMs, and the CM deployment, it was a big pain, and then the continued struggle of the SOC departments. And of course, from the attacker's perspective, they are not that kind to attack only one part of the infrastructure. They don't like to stay in this the silos the security department built for their own purposes. So sometimes the attackers leverage access to the network to gain access to the endpoints, to gain access to the servers, etc. You know how the things work. We, as a Trend Micro, we have a incident response team, and this incident response team is involved in many serious incidents around the globe. And the experience is that the bad guys, they started from the weakest point, and then they're going to spread and mostly encrypt everything, copy data outside of the company, and of course, ask for money. And it is not a $500 like it was 4 years ago for the decryption of the single PC. Now these monies goes to millions. So seems to be a really a problem. So there is the XDR idea. The XDR means extended detection and response. Uh, Actually, our product is called XDR, but I suppose that we will rebrand it or rename it because mostly XDR is the name of the technology, and many vendors offer the XDR platform. It's called XDR or called with the product name. However, the idea is the same, to correlate things, to get the detection logs from the different pieces of the security system and glue them together to present a more comprehensive view. So what's the idea to add this extended detection response to the endpoints? You're probably familiar with our EDR technology because the EDR in Trend Micro portfolio is quite a mature product. Many years ago, it was called Deep Discovery Endpoint Sensor. Then it was called Trend Micro Endpoint Sensor. And now it is a part of the Apex One platform, and it is an integrated endpoint sensor. Endpoint sensor collects the activity data on the endpoint. Actually, the endpoint is a more general term. It could be Windows Server. Anyway, we collect the activity data. The activity data, it is a set of things that are happening on the endpoint, on the computer. The activity data set we collect is related to the processes, the CLI commands, the executed commands, network activities, file activities like file is created, accessed, or removed, and the registry entries. It is of course on the Windows machine. On the non-Windows machine, we do the similar, except of course the registry modifications, because on the Unix systems, registry does not exist. And with this bunch of data that could be quite huge, we do some analytics on top of it, using a different models and a big data technology. Of course, these activity data to be using the XDR is processed in the cloud, of course. It is the AWS cloud, and the technology behind it is called a data lake. So we have a huge set of data, and we apply some technologies to do an analytics. Then we do kind of a synthetic view in the console of these events when we extract the things that are important for the security analyst. And of course, there is an access to the raw data, the activity data we have in the data lake if it is necessary. The XDR allows us to do the R part in the acronym, and R means respond. So what we could do, we could isolate endpoint, we could stop the process, we could delete, restore, collect files on the appropriate endpoint. XDR means extended. So we could do something more than only endpoint things because the Trend Micro XDR platform allows us to connect network part of the Trend Micro portfolio. It means Deep Discovery Inspector, security, so it is the workload part, and we could do an email analytics based on the CAS Cloud App Security. That is a security platform for Microsoft 365 email offerings. And now we have a special offer or special promotion that is called Apex One Complementary XDR Access or XDR licenses. The marketing code name is a Flywheel. And what it is, every customer that purchase or renew Apex One in 2020 gets an XDR license for 10% of the license count. So all the Apex One customers, almost all of them are eligible. The minimum license is 100, and the customer gets these 10% of the license count, but not less than 50 licenses. So this is the smallest amount. And these XDR licenses, that XDR is a service, they are valid for the whole contract period. So if the customer renews, I think that there is a cap, it's like 3 years, but I have to check with the ordering. Anyway, the customer gets the complementary XDR access for the validity of the contract. The customer that uses EDR on-prem or SaaS version is not eligible for this promotion. If there is the Apex One SaaS customer without EDR, it is, and the XDR complementary licenses are automatically added for this customer. If there is a customer of the Apex One, we need to deploy patch 3 for the Apex One and patch 1 for the Apex Central. If deployed, of course, because the Apex Central is not mandatory for that. And then customer gets the almost automatic access for the XDR platform. So it is quite nice and easy. Why we do that? It is, of course, to offer something new to the customers, allow you as a partners to be closer to your customers, and we'd like to convince customers to the latest and greatest endpoint security technology that we develop. Of course, the experience with the XDR could be very valuable, and the customers are quite happy with that technology because it creates more comprehensive and easier to understand way of the looking at the security system itself. And especially now, it could be quite valuable for the customers because we offer them the newest and really greatest technology, and it allows them to improve the security of the part of the infrastructure. However, because it is very easy to deploy across all the endpoints population, sometimes it could be easy door opener to do an upsell for you. How to get this XDR complementary access? When the customer deploys the appropriate patch, or it is the Apex Central for service customer. So we have two different approaches. We have a SaaS customer, that is Apex One SaaS, or we have a Apex One on-prem customers. In the SaaS version, it is absolutely automatic. In the Apex One, we need this patch I mentioned in the previous slide. And then the customer gets this blue banner with information about the Trend Micro XDR. When customer clicks on more detail, there is an information how to enroll, and the licenses are automatically added to the customer licensing portal, and the console of the XDR could be opened from the CLP portal as well. There is a short video about the XDR the customer could review before he or she enrolls to the XDR platform. When the customer decides to enroll, then there is information about the terms of service, especially information about the data processing, that how we do this data processing, how we collect the data, and what's with the data. And when the customer tick the checkbox and the next button, then there is a list of the endpoints that customer could enable the XDR feature. This is something that we call the recommended endpoints list. Customer could do that on this page, or just remove some of them from the list, or just click not now, and then the customer is able to do that in the console, select the endpoints, and connect them to the XDR platform. We have this endpoint inventory that we could enable automatically endpoints with the Apex One installed. There are some limitations, like we have the requirements of minimum 2 CPU cores, but this constraint is mostly fulfilled by every single modern computer. So we could select the endpoints and enable it. And there is the little button called View Recommended Endpoints, and we could do exactly the same with these recommended endpoints. We have the information about the number of the licenses we have, and of course we could deploy as many endpoints as we have these complementary licenses. Then we have a detection model management. Detection model management is a page that allows us to select which detection model we could use for the data lake data collection. And we have, of course, severity, we have a description of the model, and we have applicable products, because not every model is applicable to everything. We could filter it, enable it, disable it, depends on what we'd like to achieve in the XDR console. In the data lake, we combine many big data technologies like machine learning, data, etc., to analyze the data, the activity data logs that they are coming from the endpoints and other products. And then, of course, we do this correlation and allow customer to browse all of these things that were detected from the general view to more detailed view. This is something that we have in the correlation detection. On this page, we correlated phishing email with web access. Of course, everything now is mapped to the MITRE ATT-C and ATT and CK framework. So we have a MITRE technique. In this case, is T11902. We of course could click on it, and then there is information about the about that technique. We have this graph, how it's how it looks like that there was the email to the user Sam that was logged on the machine, shockwave on account Sam, the domain shockwave Sam on a machine called NIMDA, etc., etc. And then we have these graph, and of course we could go to the all of these things related to the EDR technology, like the execution profile, etc. I mentioned that we have a full data lake raw activity data access. So we have the search application that we could search all of these activity data for further threat hunting. Of course, we could do a comprehensive and complex search query, finding interesting information, look at the execution profiles, go further and further. On this particular screen, it is quite old version of the XDR console. We'll log into the newest one, and sometimes when you open it on your test account, you get a different view that on the customer account you just deployed, because we did that in this new DevOps continuous integration, continuous deployment way of building the applications. And sometimes we add something to one account and test on one account and then add it to another account. But it quite fast and smoothly now. So I would like to tell you one important thing. In the complementary access, we have a limited set of the XDR features. Especially, we have a no response part. So far, if so, it could be a limited response as well if we decided to add something. But for now, the message to the customers is that the complementary access is only detect and investigate, but no response. In the paid license, we have a full set of features, so we could do a response as well. So if you'd like to do a test with the customer, that is a Flywheel customer, but the customer requests a response part, we could of course provide the appropriate licensing, and we could do a POC or test with the customer on the full XDR platform as well. I mentioned that we have not only the endpoints, but the portfolio is much wider. Right now, we could discuss about the network, that is a deep discovery inspector, plus deep discovery network analytics. If you like to do an XDR on top of deep discovery inspector, you need at least deep discovery director on-prem or deep discovery director as a service, and then the XDR access. If you like to deploy it in a simpler way, it's just a deep discovery inspector. It could be a virtual edition or the appliance. Add the XDR add-on that deploys the deep discovery director SaaS plus XDR part. Then we have an email that is a cloud app security, and cloud app security is able to send the telemetry data to the XDR data lake. Of course, we have the endpoint that is Apex One on-prem or Apex One SaaS. And we have a cloud and workload security that is a deep security on-prem or deep security SaaS version that is called now Cloud One Workload Security. And we have different approaches that we'll discuss a little bit later. So all of these security elements are able to send the telemetry data to the data lake. The telemetry means the activity we mentioned about the endpoint, the emails, the network detections, etc., etc. And of course, in the data lake, we run these big data things that are able to find the gold in the sand and present it to the security analysts in SOC or to the partners supporting customers. On top of that, we could send the data to the external systems like CM or SOAR. For example, we have a Splunk connector available. And as an additional service, we have a managed XDR. You heard about our managed detection and response services we offered so far on top of the Apex One and Deep Discovery. Now we are offering that on top of the XDR platform as well. And there is, of course, an option to do extension of this XDR platform with other Trend Micro software and third party as well. And this is something that goes in mentioned DevOps mode. So you will see in a minute when we go to the console. So when we look on these parts on the previous slide, we could tell that every XDR could add in value. The attacks mostly goes to the endpoints, so we are able to find the threats in the activity data, and we could follow the attacker, find the propagation way, etc. Actually, most of the attacks starts with the phishing or other kind of malicious emails. So we could correlate these two things. We could find, for example, who gets the email that was related to the attack, and then we could easily go to the appropriate endpoints. We have a cloud workload containers, servers, part of that. The same activity data could be used for the server investigation. And of course, we have this networking part based on the well-known deep discovery technology that allows us to find the correlated data between the endpoints that was used to the connection between them with the malicious tools, etc. and etc. Of course, you probably know that Trend Micro is well recognized by the analysts, like there is a Forrester Wave report about the detection and response, and we are here in the leaders. There was a report related to the APT29 cybercrime group, and the tests were made by MITRE and mapped to the ATT and CK, and we were evaluated with our EDR platform. It was before the XDR was launched. However, the final evaluation was that we got, I think, best results here. Okay, guys, I would like to tell you something more, because Flywheel is a little bit more than just the endpoints, because we have a Flywheel 2.0 now, and it is extended to the emails. So every single Apex One Flywheel customer gets additional 30 free seats of the XDR for email. Of course, it is not available for the paid customers. So if someone got it, paid for it, it is not available. Now it is 30 free seats, but is unofficial, of course, would be extended to 10% of the Apex One seat counts in November, so right now. It is available for the existing cloud security customers, as well as for the customers without CAS. Of course, it works only with Microsoft 365 mailboxes. So if there is a customer with a different mail technology without Office 365, it wouldn't work for that customer. It is almost automatical to deploy. Of course, if this is the CAS customer, is a little bit different, because some of these pods are created. If this is the customer without CAS, the customer needs to go through all of these 3 steps, and it is as easy as the CAS deployment. When the customer gets an access to the XDR platform, there is info enable XDR for email, or I do not use Office 365, but if so, when the customer clicks enable XDR for email, then there is the 3 steps deployment that is almost automatic. So the customer needs to log into the Microsoft account and click next, 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 accept. We just ask to allow the Trend Micro Cloud App Security to access to the mailbox. So there is no need to reconfigure anything on the Office 365. It's just integration between CAS and the Office 365 account. Of course, we need to grant these permissions, but as I said, it is almost automatical. We got these permissions, and then there is information in the XDR platform that there is a synchronization between Office 365 mailbox list and XDR platform. So in between there is a CAS, of course, and there is then of course, the email that you just connected it or customer did it. And then we got the list of the email accounts that we could enable. Actually, we could enable it for a different accounts in a different way. We just need to add the policy in the CAS to get the telemetry in the XDR. It looks like that. There is the default policy for the monitoring that sends the data to the XDR platform. This the last one on this list. It is mostly for the customers that are not CAS familiar, so everything is made automatically under the hood, and the customer does not need to gain access to the CAS admin portal. However, if customer would like to do that, it is not a problem. The CAS portal is available through the CLP license. And of course, when we'd like to do any detection, it's just to send an email with the appropriate URL. If we'd like to do a test detection, we have these URLs that are hosted on the WinShipWay domain. We have a different URLs for different detections. You're probably familiar with that. If you're not familiar, just drop an email to Mattia or myself, and we'll provide all these necessary information. And then we, of course, we have the detection. This is a telemetry data in XDR search application, so we could find the image to the appropriate user, and of course find the detections if it is needed. And of course we could do a kind of a correlation, like here we have information about the emails, and the same link we got in the CAS. We have a workbench entries, so the information about these correlated extended detections, and then we could go to the appropriate entry and find what happened. That there was the email to the user with the link, and the same email went to the other users, etc., etc. And then we have one more thing about the Flywheel 2.0. We have a Flywheel for the deep security on-premise users. When you have the deep security on-prem user with the deep security 20 update 2, this customer automatically gets Flywheel XDR access for 50 servers or 10% of the Apex 1 seed counts, as we had in the XDR for endpoints. The customer could deploy the XDR for the Apex 1 or for deep security if the customer would like to choose some servers. This version is not available for the XDR paid customers, and it is not available for Cloud One workload security so far. The deployment is not automatic. The automatic part of the deployment is when the customer decides to go to the deep security XDR. We always automatically enable the deep security manager detection log forwarding. For this update 2, there was a little issue because the activity data was the endpoint for the activity data connection was wrongly configured to the demo, our internal demo portal. However, it is easy to reconfigure if you'd like to do with the deep security on-prem Flywheel. Please let us know, then we would support you. So when the customer enables it, the activity data is not collected automatically. However, the log detections are collected. And to get the activity data, customer needs to download the XDR sensor. The XDR sensor, it's called the Basecamp, and the customer just open the appropriate application in the XDR console and download the installer or get the link for the installer and then install it on top of the server. It could be installed with Deep Security Agent or without Deep Security Agent. It depends on the customer. Customer could deploy it anywhere on the server or on the endpoint, even though without the Apex One or the Deep Security Agent installed. And when the customer installs that, the XDR agent starts to send the activity data to the XDR data lake. How the customer gets it? After this installation of the Deep Security Manager 20 Update 2, there is a blue banner, and when the customer clicks on the blue banner, there is the similar to the endpoints window with the complementary XDR access, in this case for deep security. And the customer could just click it, Trend Micro XDR now, and there is an option to go to the CLP account and add this access to the XDR for deep security. Questions?
Nobody has questions.
Well,
it's good.
Good and bad. Okay, let me share my screen.
Can I ask one question? I think that everybody, at least those who maybe have questions and they are afraid to ask. So I have one, if I may. So if I understood correctly, actually, I'm not sure did I understand correctly. Do I need DDD network analytics in order to, receive the data by the cloud data lake from my inspector?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So is it mandatory to have deep discovery network analytics on top of DDI in order to data to be received by cloud data lake?
Yes and no.
It's the same thing now, right?
Please look at my CLP, that is my demo CLP, mostly Flywheel portal. I have here Deep Discovery XDR add-on. This is that license. Of course, we have a free, this is a free deep security. I got 10 deep security servers. On top of that, I have 50 XDR Apex One as a service. So it is exactly this activity agent. Then I have a Trend Micro Cloud App Security. I could open install. I have a Cloud App Security XDR add-on, and then I added XDR add-on for Deep Discovery Inspector that I just deployed somewhere in the cloud. And when I do that, then in my product connector, go. Where is my product connector? Let's refresh it. There is a Deep Discovery Cloud version. When I deploy that license, it is automatically onboarded to my Deep Discovery, to my XDR portal. And so I have access to my Deep Discovery director in the cloud. So yes, you need a Deep Discovery director. However, you do not need to deploy it on-prem. You just use the cloud version. It is in the XDR for Deep Discovery Inspector. It is enclosed.
And network analytics license actually is the same license as this XDR for networks now, right? It's merged.
Yes, exactly that. So yeah. Deep Discovery Direct Network Analytics as a service, now it's rebranded to XDR add-on for Deep Discovery Inspector. So there is no more Deep Discovery Direct Network Analytics as a service per se. So when we go to this portal here.
Okay, everything is clear now. Okay.
So I'm just going to show you how it looks like. It's just a Deep Discovery directory hosted somewhere in the cloud. Mm-hmm. We have a connected sources. That is my Deep Discovery directory in AWS, and it the minimum licensing is 1 gig. So I have a 250 megs Deep Discovery Inspector, so it consumes only a part of this network. And of course, we have all of these features of Deep Discovery Director. We have the appliance. We could configure it, etc. However, this network analytics part allows us to configure it, and then we have a Trend Micro XDR, and then we could go to the Trend Micro XDR and look for the events from the networking devices.
So Marek, there's a question in the chat.
Yes.
I already answered something, but the thing is, do you know that maybe DDEI is going to get connected to XDR in the future?
Email Inspector.
Email Inspector, yeah.
Yes, Email Inspector. It is, of course, unofficial. The roadmap information is not published. But yeah, probably the next version of Email Inspector would be connected to XDR as well. But it is not confirmed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Super. IMSVA probably is never going to get it right.
No, IMSVA no, and we do recommend to migrate IMSVA to the more modern platforms if it is, of course, possible. Yeah. I mentioned that we extend this XDR platform. On the previous slides, you've seen a little bit different console with the less icons, and now we have something that is called a security posture. Now we have actually this is my demo, so I could show you a more appropriate demo in a minute. However, we have information about the Workbench alerts from the last 7 days. We have top endpoints. We have information about the endpoint reporting activity and emails connected to that. And of course, we could go to all of these applications. For example, when we go to the endpoints with observed attacks, this is interesting because we have the preview information about the preview mode. We could do our search for the events from the last 10 minutes or last few days. We could select the severity. We could put here a detection filter or the endpoint name. 30 days. I don't remember when I accessed that. And this application just pulls the data from the data lake and will display that here. So we can see all of these attacks, and of course we could go to the detection, and we see that on these endpoint we had some different detecting things. For example, we have a detection of zero logon, suspicious detection in the private network, lateral movements, etc. So we go to the endpoint and do some evaluation and investigation. We have a different things here like suspicious scripting in the WMI, the domain controller, etc., etc. So we could browse these techniques and tactics here. We could, of course, go to the workbench and follow the attacks, and we could flag them when they are recognized by us. We have a different attacks here. Some of them are from the email. Some of them are from the server and the user account. Some of them are related to the server, endpoint and the user account, etc., etc. We have, of course, the search application that we could search the things like we could search the telemetry data, like we could go one of the search that has been saved here. Like we are looking for the host name, and then we have two different sets of data because this is a server, so we could observe the endpoint activity data here and the detection data. The endpoint activity means that it is related to the endpoint sensor activity information like open files, connections, etc. And we have, of course, detection data like it is the thing related to the log forwarding. Like we could go to the detection, for example, and find a malware. Name. Yeah, and we have a detection, pure detection data of the malware. The response management, it is something that doesn't work here in that Flywheel. However, we have this endpoint inventory, and in the endpoint inventory, we have an information about the machines that are reporting to XDR, because this is the most security XDR. We have no available endpoints here on the list. When we connect the Apex, they are here. But we could, of course, download the but someone is just clicking on the keyboard so noisily. If you could mute yourself, you will be.
Yeah, it was me. Sorry.
No problem. So we could download the agent. We have 3 different versions of the agent. This is a Windows. Windows is supported on Windows 7, 10, and Windows Server 20, 16, and 19. There is a Linux version. However, Linux version is not available in the complementary license. And there is a Mac OS that just appeared a few days ago. So we could download it and then deploy it. Then we have an email inventory. That email inventory, it is related to the CAS. We have an access to the CAS. These CAS here, Cloud Op Security, is the same free license we got for the XDR. So we offer this Trend Micro Cloud Op Security. Here is a 50. I mentioned that it was 30 licenses at the very beginning, but we upgraded it to the exactly the same number of the Apex 1 we have. So the minimum number of the Apex 1 is 50. So now it is a 50. I had a 30 a few days ago. Then we have something new. I told you that we are adding new things, and we have a mobile inventory. When you do Trend Micro mobile security, you could integrate it with the mobile security. Of course, we have to do all of these appropriate stuff to do that.